What up, guys? Welcome to the Chewjitsu podcast, number something or other. And today's podcast, we're going to talk about, or we got a question rather from one of you who listens to the podcast, and you're in a situation where you're possibly wanting to train at multiple gyms and you're having some issues from one of your gyms with it. And we'll talk more about it in a second. You can just talk about general ideas related to choosing the right gym for you, switching if you need to, that whole thing. A big thanks to our sponsor for helping make this podcast happen, Athletic Mints. If you guys haven't checked them out, Athletic, it's the website is spelled ATHLETHC, and get it, athleticthc.com. And the promo code, if you want to check out some of their products, is Chewjitsu10. And so they produce a microdosed THC mint that has, other cannabinoids in it. And they have several different mints for several different purposes. So they have, obviously, they have one of their mints is called Flow, which is to help get you into a more relaxed flow state. They have Power, which is obviously for training, doing something intense. And then they have one called Rebound, which, as the name would sort of lend itself towards, is trying to help you rebound and recover. And again, if you guys want to check out some of their stuff, the mints are like super like low dose. I think it's 2 milligrams, so you're not going to be off your rocker crazy and like that one time you had too many special brownies or anything like that. But they can be nice. I like to, every now and then during training sessions, I'll use one of the Flow mints. And I tend to find that it gets my mind into a more relaxed setting, or in some cases when I'm doing some of my creative work, I'll take one of the mints. So again, I tend to find that it helps with creativity for me personally. If you guys want to check out some of their stuff, go to their website at athletic, ATHLETHC.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu with a C, 10 at checkout, and that's 10% off the purchase price, whatever you get. Also, thanks to our buddies over at Epic Roll. If you guys want to check out some of their stuff, epicrollbjj.com is the website. Again, I'm getting ready to actually put some of my rash guards up on the website from Epic Roll that we did recently, because we have some extras. And if you guys want to check out some of their stuff, it's at epicrollbjj.com. And they have a ton of good stuff, everything from gis, rash guards, and shorts to t-shirts, joggers, fanny packs. I mean, anything and everything you can think of. And everything's got good designs, good quality. And again, they support a lot of jiu-jitsu practitioners that are out there competing. And if you guys want to check them out, go to their website at epicrollbjj.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu, again with a C, CHEWJITSU 20 for 20% off. By the way, the reason why I'm specifying the Chewjitsu is because I have had people come up and send me messages and say, "Hey, Chewy, I'm trying the code Jiu-Jitsu with the J, and it's not working. What's going on?" And I have to tell them it's Chewjitsu. And so sometimes that chew and Jew, very closely. Yeah, that's why the thing works. The Chewjitsu thing works because they're almost the same, right?
Yeah.
And also big thanks to our sponsor, Charlotte's Web. If you guys want to check them out, they're one of the OGs in the CBD space, but they also make a lot of other terrific products, things like functional mushroom products like with lion's mane, reishi, and they also have one of their newer products is a stay asleep gummy, which is a CBN gummy, which is a different cannabinoid, but really useful if you're trying to get some good sleep. And again, all their stuff is third party tested, so you can ensure the quality, or you can ensure, rather, that what's in the label is what's inside those supplements that you're taking. And, they ensure that happens. And so terrific products, one of the OGs in the space. They've been around for a long time. And if you guys want to check out any of their products, you can save 30% off the order by going to their website at charlottesweb.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu30, again, with the C. CHEWJITSU 30 for 30% off the order. If you're curious which one I use right now, I tend to use the Stay Asleep gummy or CBD in general at nighttime towards the end of the evening, 30 minutes to an hour before bed, to kind of wind down with everything. Personally at nighttime, I like taking a magnesium supplement and taking the CBD, and that kind of tends to help me get some really good sleep. So guys, check them out, charlottesweb.com. And if you guys want to support the podcast directly, you can roll on over to the website at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And when you support the podcast directly, you'll get access to all the exclusive perks that we offer. And again, we're constantly adding things to the back end. And so if you're a big fan of the podcast, you enjoy it, it entertains you, and you'd like more of it, then that would be a good idea for you to check out. Again, it's a really inexpensive Patreon membership type of thing, with a lot of different perks. And if you guys want to check it out, go to patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. You can support the podcast directly, get some extra stuff for a very inexpensive price. Also, if you guys want to get my daily email and get an ebook that will help you improve in jiu-jitsu faster, check it out at chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN. How will it make you improve faster? Well, sort of an idea for you is that I was recently at a big box gym when I was traveling, and on the TV they had The Price is Right. You remember that show?
Oh yeah.
Okay. They have that one game where they spin the wheel. Where they're trying to get to like 100 and they can just spin the wheel. Yep. And so I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, that wheel is 100% random. Like, it's just random wherever it's going to land, right? And that's how most people train their jiu-jitsu. They just sort of show up. It's all randomness, just kind of going with the flow, seeing what happens. Nothing wrong with that. Especially if you're trying to just play around and flow through things, that's fine. But if you're actually trying to get better, it's amazing how a little bit of focus, a little bit of intention can motivate you, can create drive, and can create excitement and help you improve faster. Because if you have a goal that you're after, it's very easy to know whether or not you're actually making progress towards it. And so in the ebook that I give you when you join up to my daily email at chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN, you will get an ebook and a video that will tell you 12 different strategies on how to add more focus to your training very simply. And it'll help you improve faster by giving you a clear direction. And check it out at chewjitsu.net/join. So guys, with that said, let's jump into this episode. Eugene, do you want to read the question off? It'll be a Bob question today because it's going to be anonymous, just like the videos, because as he's contemplating 2 gyms and our podcasted videos have a fair amount of reach, don't want to blast them out there like that. So if you want to read the question, brother.
Sure. So I'll read the email. It's fairly long, but kind of bear with me here. So he says, my name is Bob. I'm a white belt. I wrestled for a bit in high school, including placing at Masters. Currently, I'm at a self-defense oriented Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I'm very interested in becoming the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner I can be. That being said, I've seen all over the internet and heard from many people that the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes tend to be competitors. I recently did my first competition, and to aid in my competition prep, I have also started training at a sports style school. Is it disrespectful to my main gym, the self-defense based gym, to also be training at a sports style school? I feel like I've been getting similar opinions from friends of mine, but I'm getting a vibe from the head instructor of self-defense school that he is not particularly happy with the decision. I've been entirely above board and transparent about it, but I am not getting everything I need to compete from the self-defense style school. I'm also conflicted on what to do about promotions in regards to competing. At the self-defense style school, promotions are primarily based off of attendance cards, but this feels like it could be a detriment for competition. I'm expected to receive my blue belt at the end of this year. I do not think that a blue belt will have been deserved after only 1 year of training. I would like to be anonymous for my school and stay anonymous, essentially. So yeah, he's at a self-defense school right now, but he's been cross-trained a modern or a sports focused jiu-jitsu school. And he wants to kind of figure out what he should do and what's the best path for him to take.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, bro. So let's jump into something real quick, just a quick idea to chew on, and I'll go on a little bit of a monologue here for a second, then Eugene, I'll shut up. But this is interesting. So this is one of the things that I think, if you wrestled, or if you've got that competitive bug in you, sport jiu-jitsu is typically going to be much more fun for you. Because, there's nothing wrong with the self-defense stuff. But I tend to find that most of the self-defense gyms, from what I've seen, they typically cater to an older audience, and it's going to be like, hey, you go in and you do your self-defense stuff and you sort of check it off the box. A lot of us that wrestled, we want to go into a gym and we want to get down. We want to throw down to whatever degree we can do as we get older, right? But like we want to push ourselves. We want to test ourselves. We want to be rough and tumble. We like get black eyes a little bit here and there. It's a different environment. And also too, at a certain point, The self-defense stuff is very basic and fundamental, and it gets boring, right? So this is where sport jiu-jitsu comes in, sport versus sport. Sport's fun. I saw this recently where people were saying, "Oh, sport jiu-jitsu in a fight, it's going to get you killed, right? Or get your butt whooped, whatever." And this was said by people who don't really do well or compete in sport jiu-jitsu. So take that for what you will. I think sometimes people just want to, not like something, so they want to take their ball and go home. But think of fighting, if you will, for a second, like language. I think of it this way, right? And with our language, we can use language in a lot of different ways, can't we? Like the way that I speak to Eugene, who's a good friend of mine, very different from the way that I speak to my son. Very different than the way I speak to my wife. Very different than the way that I would speak to a police officer or maybe a legal professional if I was in a bad spot, right? Very different from the way I would speak to someone if I was very angry at them, right? So there's different types of language, different dialects, but we learn how to manipulate language in all sorts of ways.
Mhm.
Fighting is a type of language with our body, right? Because you cannot speak the actual verbal language that someone does, but you can engage in a grappling match or a fighting match with them, no problem. Happens all the time, right? And just like language, you can use fighting for different ways, right? So we can play fight with our kids. Very fun and silly, right? Then there's the type of fighting that we do when we go to the gym and we're training with each other. And again, it's play fighting nonetheless, but it's still a form of fighting ultimately when you grapple or box. There's limitations to it, but it's still play fighting. And during that play fighting, when we're, in the gym, if we're rolling with one of our buddies, it's almost like to go back to language, it's like having a spirited discussion with one of your friends. You like them, but you have a disagreement and you want to get your point across. There's no animosity, there's no anger, but you want to make your point heard. And you're going after each other trying to win. And when you go to a competition, like in a competition match, there's typically no animosity or anger, but it's very intense and very aggressive. But going back to the idea, it would be like having a debate where you don't hate the person, but you're trying to get your point across. And then there's an actual fight situation, right? But nonetheless, what tends to happen, at least what I find, is that people love manipulating the language of fighting in the sport realm. And the thing is that most of us intuitively know that, hey, when it's time, there's a lot of stuff in the sport that we're not going to do. Like we're not going to pull guard and sit for leg locks if it's a fight situation, right? In every combat sport, boxing, wrestling, even MMA, there's things in those arts that you would not do in a real no holds, like no rules sort of fight situation that you'd be on the street. But I say that just because, again, a lot of times at some point we like doing the sport jiu-jitsu. The sport jiu-jitsu stuff is what is the most fun. It's the fun part about it, right? At some point. And so again, if you're someone that's like that, then you're probably going to want to do this sport jiu-jitsu stuff. And so you're at that situation where you're trying to decide, do you want to keep going the self-defense route? Or do you want to go to the Gracie Baja gym and start doing more sport jiu-jitsu? I'll stop there for a second before I keep rambling because I'll keep rattling on. Any thoughts before we continue, Mr. Eugene? Otherwise,
No,
it'll be like the jiu-jitsu monologue, and I don't want it to turn into that.
I think you brought up a really great point, and that someone that from that competitive background, you have that itch, that competitive itch. I think for me, even though I didn't wrestle, I played competitive sports, and I feel like I started jiu-jitsu, and then like oh, there's other things I can do besides just doing jiu-jitsu, getting the self-defense piece of it, which is important. And I think that honestly, I think most people like at white and blue belt will get a pretty good aspect of that self-defense component. I think you get that those like earlier, because you're learning basic control and basic positions, basic submissions, kind of 2-on-1 control for kimuras and things like that. So you're doing some of these kind of self-defense type movements. Now, there's definitely a lot of intricacies to it as well. And but I think there's some limitations to the positions and the techniques. And I think if you're someone that's competitive, number one, and the creativity piece and the kind of the learning piece comes to it as well. I think there's a lot more I feel like to expand upon in the modern jiu-jitsu or like the competitive jiu-jitsu, sport jiu-jitsu.
Well, anytime you create limitations and rules, you start to allow for a lot of weird creativity to come about, right? Like, think about by like creating rules, like where we can't punch and do certain things, it allows for a lot of creativity in jiu-jitsu
Mhm.
because of the positions we can play in, right?
Sure.
Um, and before we get off topic, because I want to go back to his question, because otherwise you and me will rattle off. Let me go to one of your questions, Bob. So one of them was that the best athletes in jiu-jitsu are competitors. I agree with that for the most part. I'm sure that there's plenty of exceptions, but generally speaking, I agree with that. Why is that? Why is it that the best people in jiu-jitsu tend to be people that compete? I would say that it's because they're putting themselves under a test. And it's very easy to train at a, comfortable pace and do this sort of thing and never really have to put yourself out there in the fire. It's a different situation when you know you're going to be facing another human being who's going to try to rip your head off, and they don't know you, they don't necessarily like you, they're just going to try to win. And so when you have that coming at you, it tends to force you to prepare to become better because of this challenge that you have coming up, right? Um, it's very simple, right? Anything in life, right? Like anytime in life, if you are never tested or forced to be tested, you're not probably going to be as good as you possibly could be. When you're forced to put yourself out there and actually have a test of some sort where you have to, show your best to see what you're really made of in anything, not just jujitsu, just really anything, it forces you to get better because it lights a fire under you. And so the best competitor or the competitors tend to be the best people because they're competing and they're testing themselves constantly against all these different styles and people, and they want to win desperately, and they don't want to look bad in front of everybody, the whole deal. And so they're constantly doing that. So it really forces them to improve. And I'm not saying that every competitor is the best teacher, whatever, but generally speaking, I think you're most of the time your best jujitsu practitioners tend to be people that compete. Not always. There are a lot of exceptions, but tends to be the rule more than an exception.
Yeah, the intensity and the stress test.
Yeah.
I think that, I've said this before, when I was a white and blue belt, I feel like I learned so much from competition. I feel like it progressed my game significantly because I saw where I was doing pretty well and I saw where I had glaring holes in my game. And so it really, number one, it's a motivator. It's a great motivator to train hard and push
Yeah.
yourself. And then you're going against people you've never trained against. The
Mhm.
intensity is higher. It's just, I think sometimes in some ways it could be a more real life scenario than like a self defense gym sparring session or practice because you kind of don't know the individual and there's a lot more intensity and
Mhm.
there's anxiety and there's stress and there's all these other components that come with competition that you may not get at just kind of a regular kind of self defense sparring session at your gym.
Yeah, and there, by the way, I don't want to sound like we're just pooping on self-defense type stuff because I'm not.
No.
But there definitely is something like where a lot of people poo-poo on sport jiu-jitsu. One of the things, and I've talked about this before, that you get from combat sports like jiu-jitsu, boxing, wrestling, is that it's like live training.
Yeah.
And so you actually know what it's like to go against another fully resisting human being. That's important because if you've never had another human being try to grab you with 100% of their energy, that feeling will shock you the first time
Yes.
you feel it. Many of us, when we first come into the gym and all of a sudden someone grabs us, our bodies freak out just instinctively, right? If you're not used to it. And so that feeling of being able to be cool, calm, collected in really uncomfortable situations lends itself to being more effective in a fight situation where you're going to have to be able to think on your toes and adjust because there are no rules. You don't know what's going to happen, and you've got to be able to make very quick judgments in the moment. And so that's an important thing, and you get a really good sense of that feeling from things like wrestling and jiu-jitsu competitions. So, as a side tangent for it being helpful. Now, you mentioned in your thing that you didn't want to be disrespectful, right? That you didn't want to be disrespectful to the person. Um, because of that. So my thought process is this, and we'll talk more about it in a second as far as what maybe you could do. But my thought process is this: with a jujitsu gym, it's a weird thing where we're blending relationships with people with a business that is a service, right?
Mhm.
And I've had people leave my gym before for different reasons. Sucks to see sometimes, especially if you really like them. And people have left other gyms and come to our gym because we offer something that they want. I'm sure it sucked for the other person on the other end, right? Nonetheless, if a gym is not offering something that you want, like you want to be a sport jiu-jitsu competitor, being that's something you want to do, then I mean they can't be necessarily angry at you because again, if it's a self-defense gym, there's nothing wrong with that. There is a group of people that that's what they want. They just want to do self-defense. They don't want to do sport jiu-jitsu. They don't want to get into all this stuff. And so, it's good to have those gyms because people get to have that experience. But likewise, there's a lot of people like us, like you, Bob, who want to be grappler competitors. You want to compete in jiu-jitsu. And for you, you're going to need a gym that does some sport jiu-jitsu competitions on some level. Otherwise, you're going to go out and get your butt kicked. And you're not going to have the best experience that you want. Because again, jiu-jitsu is kind of a choose your own adventure book. You get to kind of decide what you want to do with this thing. And if sport jiu-jitsu is what you want to do, then it's probably going to be best for you to train at a gym that trains with sport jiu-jitsu things in mind. And so I don't see it as disrespectful. I see it as simply you doing what you need to do to get the experience that you want from it. Right? Very simple. And as far as, upsetting the other coach, you could say it just like you said with me. And it sounds like you already have. You said you've been transparent with them. Say, hey, like, I like it here. I like you. I'm still paying a membership, the whole deal, but I want to compete sport jiu-jitsu, so I need to train with people that want to do that. Nothing wrong with that, in my bearded
Mhm.
opinion. It may not be fun for the coach because it can be a blow to the ego.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches talk about egos and stuff like that. Well, it could be a blow to the ego to have someone come to you and then they're going to someone else now, right? You can think of it as like saying, well, you're not good enough. And some coaches will mistakenly think that that's the case. Oh, I'm not good enough, huh? That kind of thing. And so I could see it being a blow to the ego, but again, it's just as we talk about all the time. I've said this plenty of times. A lot of times black belts tell their young white belt students to lose their ego in air quotes, and then later on, when their ego reemerges, as a black belt, they don't check themselves as well. They don't take their own advice. But
Mhm.
not to say that that's what's happening, but that's just kind of what it seems like. It's just from what I'm gathering from the question.
Yeah, I think it can be. It's just maybe the gym does not, like I said, it's not about the coach, it's not about the instruction. It's just maybe the environment is not conducive to competition. That you're not learning the techniques that you need to be a competitor, or the intensity isn't there. But like, there's two. You're right. You blend these like relationships and these services. But you're number one. You are a customer. You are paying the
Hmm.
membership. So I mean, number one, you should, if you are buying some service and it's just like a cable or internet or something, right? And the internet is terrible, it's slow, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, it loses,
Are
connection
you
all the
talking about
time.
my jujitsu instruction or something? Jeez, man.
No, no,
I'm
no.
just
I'm just
messing with you.
saying. I'm talking about this. You're doing great comparison. I'm doing a comparison
No, no, I'm with
to
you.
the internet. No, I know. And why would you stay with that if that's not, if it's not making you happy? You're the one that's, or you're not getting the needs that you need, that you have met. So I think that 100%. Like, it's a hard decision because when you get to a gym and you're there, multiple times a week, you get to know the people, you get to know the coaches, and you trust them, to teach you and show you, and you kind of put your faith in them. And then you get to a point where, like, okay, what else is out there? Or I have different goals than when I started, or I didn't know that there were all these different avenues for
Mhm.
jujitsu. And I know that now once I'm in this space. And we didn't know, I didn't know that when I started at a gym. Somebody told me about a gym, I showed up. That's how it started for me, right? And I'm sure, Chewy, I don't know how you chose your gym or what the, initially, what that was all about. But like, yeah, sometimes it's word of mouth, but you don't really know. It's like jujitsu's jujitsu. You don't know if there's so many different varieties of it, right? So many different flavors.
Yeah, so maybe this could maybe be useful to you. I'll talk about how I chose my gym and when I left that gym. So I chose my original gym because it was the gym that I had found. By the way, gym is a loose term here. It
Uh
was a guy renting a space in a weightlifting gym. So we had like a little room where we would lay down puzzle mats. That was the air quotes gym. So I chose that original instructor because when I asked about competing, because when I got into jiu-jitsu, I knew I wanted to compete. That was like I wanted to do that. I sent messages out to several different jiu-jitsu gyms and talked to them. And some of them were like, "Yeah, we compete a little bit." Da, 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 da. And then I talked to this one coach, and he said, "Yeah, man, we compete." And he sent me a color-coded list, like it was this blue and blue text, red, purple and purple text of the competitions he had won. He was a purple belt at the time, and
huh.
so I was like, "Oh, well, this is the guy I'm training with. He's got a list of all these competitions he's done. Well, then I'm going to compete with him." And so I started training and, began training for at the point, I think I trained with him for about 4 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah, 4 years. It's crazy because it seems like it was longer at the time, but, it's just 4 years. And I eventually left that gym because of different reasons, but I went and trained with another they were friends of mine. They were friends that I knew that, were training on the other end of town, and I just went to train with them one day, and I wasn't planning on leaving at the time, but I got a lot of there was a lot of, I think, insecurity there, and the old coach was very frustrated with me by training at other places. But again, my original goal wasn't to leave. My original goal was to like train with people, make myself better, and bring it back to the team. Does it make sense? Like my thought process is like, I don't need to leave. I want to make our team better, so I'm going to make myself better. Because
Mhm.
if I make myself better, then we all rise up together. And there were that, and then a few other things that caused me to leave. And I left that gym partly because of the sort of toxic atmosphere that was beginning to brew at the time. I just didn't like, and so I left. And I had my reasons, and I would say this to anybody. A lot of times when you wanna leave the gym, you have a gut feeling, something's not off, something's wrong here. Maybe you're having issues with the coach, or disagreements, or whatever, animosity there, um, whatever it might be, then sometimes you have to do it. It's not fun, it's kind of like a divorce. Sucks.
Mm.
It's not enjoyable at all. I didn't enjoy doing that, and for probably a year afterwards, I remember just kind of having just some not so good feelings about it because I had left, but it was the right decision at the time. But I originally chose the gym that I trained at because I wanted to compete, and that's what the person was specializing in, was competing, and went from there.
Yeah, it's what was like for you, Chewy, like you knew you need to leave. What was the process? So like maybe Bob is like, all right, I've made the decision. What was the process of leaving? What was difficult about it, and what was kind of the aftermath?
Well, at first it was kind of almost like it was almost like a girlfriend, like when you break up with someone and you get back together. So I originally was like, all right, I'm going to start training here at this gym, at this other gym, right? And partly it's because of the coach that I had originally had a lot of positive qualities. There was a lot of things that he did right, a lot
Sure.
of things that he did very well. One of the things that I never really enjoyed from them was like he had some substance issues, right? Like drinking and things of that nature that I never was really a fan of. And for me, like, it's sort of and maybe I'm just sort of naive, but it was always kind of the antithesis of being like a martial artist, a fighter, was, getting drunk and getting into bar fights and doing all this kind of stuff. I never really liked it. Didn't think it was good. Um, and so and then there were some other things. There was more personal issues that
Sure.
happened within the team that I ended up leaving. And I left, and then I came back, came back again. And then we ended up opening up a gym together, so, like, it's almost like, like you'll hear those couples where they break up and they get back together and they have a kid together, thinking that maybe it'll fix it. We ended up sort of opening up a gym together. Damn thing was like, my name was on the lease and everything back then. Like that gym that you trained at first,
Yeah.
Eugene,
Frankfurt Avenue, right?
my name was on that lease.
It's awesome.
It wasn't awesome for me. I remember when I left, I was like, man, I hope they keep paying the bills because I don't have that money. Um, but signed the lease, dumb, stupid, but did it. And then we started having conflicts with money.
Marital problems.
Marital problems, bro. It's like a damn marriage.
Yeah.
And at that point, then it was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And I ended up leaving and had to come into the gym at like 12 o'clock at night so I could go get my stuff out of those like old, like nasty sort of cubbies we had.
Mm-hmm.
I had to come out and get my stuff out of those cubbies. And when
I got in, upstairs part, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so when I was going up there to do that, well, so those cubbies used to be on the wall, and then me and my mother's boyfriend, Rick, we came in one night and we like cut those cubbies down and put them over there.
Yeah.
But so those little cubbies were there, and so when I'm coming into the gym to get my stuff, his parrot was on the ground, and so I get there. There's a parrot on the ground.
Okay.
And so the parrot was like running loose in the gym, and I just walk in. He's like, oh no! So I was like, ran in, got the stuff, ran back out. And again, there was a lot of animosity there.
Sure.
I mean, he was very angry at me for a while, which I get, I understand. But at the same time, there was a lot of issues where like that we just weren't being corrected. And I don't think that I was probably 21, 22 at the time. I don't know that I was mature enough to deal with those appropriately.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Because too young, just I'm stupid. I didn't really know what the hell to do. Looking at it now, I would have dealt with it differently, would have gone about it differently, but nonetheless, I would have had the same decision.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, what made you want to come back? What was like the remorse or the like
people,
the people,
yeah. Bro. So like, again, this is why it's like a divorce. You have this family of people that you've been connected to. Like, it's interesting. It's like, here's the thing too. One is, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this. And if you're listening, you ever broke up with someone and then it's not good. There's a reason why you guys broke up, but for some reason you sort of just have these weird blind spots and you remember all the good stuff.
Right.
And like, you forget, oh, they were really nuts and crazy, and there was a reason why I broke up. And you get attracted to that person because you're focusing on all these good things because you get into these mopey moods because you miss them. There was a little bit of that going on because again, this is like my first coach, my first jiu-jitsu coach. I met him when I was 18 years old, straight out of high school. I was becoming a young adult like around this guy. And he taught me a lot of this. He taught me moves I still use to this day.
Sure.
So there's always that attachment there. And, you kind of miss that. And then I remember all the other guys, all the people inside the gym. I missed the team that I was a part of, that I had helped build. I was responsible for building a lot of these guys up just as much as anybody else. And so I missed those guys. And then I remember I came back and like trained and stuff like that. And it was like, we're back at home and everything's good and we're all in good behavior. Everybody's good. And then the things that led to that original breakup, so to speak, started to come back out, Yeah. And again, if you guys have ever had that sort of situation where you break up with someone, you get back together for a little bit, it's okay. It's back to normal. Oh, everything's great. You're like kind of in this like warm and fuzzy period. And then all the things that cause the cracks in the relationship cause the cracks again, and then you break up. It's literally a damn relationship marriage type thing. So
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see, one of the things when the gym closed and we were looking for a new gym, Adam and I were kind of, we're like, we didn't even know if we were going to keep training. And Adam just started kind of bouncing around a couple little gyms, just looking around. I don't think he trained at any, but he kind of was looking at the atmosphere and the environment. And one thing we missed was like a small gym that we had, but it was close. We had like the same people training all the time. And for you, I'm sure like you guys fought together, y'all competed together, you fought together in MMA and stuff. So like there was a lot of camaraderie there, and there's a lot of connection, a lot of these similar experiences. And I think those are really special and they're unique and they're very I mean, intimate, like, because I'm sure, you know, you're sharing your fears with your training partners and your coach and stuff, because I mean, you're going out there to compete or fight and things like that. It's pretty serious.
Mhm.
But the environment was a big thing. Like when we first came, Adam and I first came to your gym, um, it didn't feel like home because it
Mhm.
was like, well, there's all these people and I don't know their names. Like I knew every single person's name, you know, that I trained
Right.
with. It wasn't that many people. It was very small quarters, but it was like, this feels like it's weird. Like I don't know a lot of these people. First, I didn't know anybody, but it was so many people that had like, I was like, it just felt overwhelming and it felt a little bit like, I don't know, not impersonal, but like it was just different. It was just an
Mhm.
adjustment for sure. And you kind of miss what you're used to. It's like that's the thing. Like you're used to a certain thing. It's like I don't know, it's just the environment you miss a little bit because that's what you kind of drew you into jiu-jitsu. And that's what kind of started your kind of path in jiu-jitsu is this kind of place. I think it's always going to be like a special place for you and for me, essentially, like because that's kind of where I got my start.
Right. It's
Yeah,
first
it's
place you went. I mean, it's and also too, what the reality of the situation is versus what we remember, is
yeah,
not
yeah.
always
Our
supposed
memories
you know
are
what I mean?
crazy. Our
Yeah,
memories are
because,
crazy.
sometimes there's things that we remember, but that's not the way that it actually was, and, if I was to look back at some like, when I look back at some of the stuff that was going on in the gym experience that I originally had, a ton of dumb stuff was going
Oh,
on.
sure,
Like
but you
bad
don't know it's
training
dumb stuff
practices. No, I know, but I'm just
until
saying it's right, so but what I'm saying is, like, you could have been you could take me if you would have taken me from, say, that first experience and then put me into a better training environment, the whole deal, I may have still felt some longing for that original experience just because that was my first one,
sure.
because I
Yeah,
didn't know what I was doing.
yeah.
Um, you know,
Chewy, is it disrespectful what Bob is doing? I mean,
I don't
now I don't know. Let me preface this too. In some ways, like, are you splitting your time? Like, the question is, like, are you just like, is this your home gym, the self defense gym, and then you're kind of just cross training a little bit, or is it like you're splitting your time 50-50? Um, so he doesn't quite go into detail on that, but like,
yeah.
there's that, and then we can talk about also the promotions because promotions kind of work differently too.
So,
So
man, if I read between the lines of this thing, what it seems like to me, it seems like that old Bob is wanting to move towards the other competition gym and train there more and get promoted there because he doesn't want to go do the timesheet thing, but he's too worried about upsetting the other coach. I think
yeah,
that's to me, that's what it seems like, which I would tell you don't do that because you're going to blink and this whole damn thing's over. Your ability to train is all gone, right? Just the way it is. If you're not enjoying the experience that you're having, if you're not enjoying the people you're with, if you're not feeling like you're getting like you're training, like you're not getting something you need, then you got to go. Now, as far as disrespectful, I don't think it's disrespectful if you're coming up and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing," because as you said, you're being transparent with them, not disrespectful at all. You're literally saying, "Hey, I'm coming to this place because they offer something you do not." That's it. Nothing wrong with that. You know, for instance, like Brandon, when he goes and trains with, he was one of my students for a while, and he, moved away with his girlfriend, and then he trains at Pedigo periodically and stuff like that. He was very transparent about all of it, and never upset me. He basically he wants to take it to the next level, and he wants to train with, and he should train with people that are literally doing nothing but eating, breathing, sleeping this stuff. It's fine. It's what he needs, right? Like that's perfectly fine. I don't want to train just people who are full-time competitors personally. Just not my thing. I like competing and I like doing it, but I don't want to train full-time competitors all the time. That's not my particular thing. But he's training with those types of people and he needs that. He needs those guys that basically do nothing but sleep on the mat and train.
mhm.
All good. I can't be mad at him for that. And your coach can't be mad at you for this either, right? Like you're simply just going into a gym and getting something that you're not getting there. No harm, no foul. And again, if he gets upset about it, you could ask him, well, why is he upset? And more than likely the answer is going to come down to their own ego issues, and maybe they'll say something about loyalty or whatever. But again, it just is what it is, right? You're doing jiu-jitsu, you're getting ready for a competition. You don't want to get your butt kicked. You want to perform well. And so you need, to have some experience with that sport jiu-jitsu kind of training.
So the next part is being deserving of a belt. Some of us, some of us feel there's two types of people, really. You feel like, oh, I need to be promoted, I'm ready. And some people that feel like they're never ready to get promoted.
Oh yeah.
With some of these more traditional gyms, and if they do just a kind of a time card type thing, it's not my favorite because
I don't mind the time cards for stripes. But it's like the actual belt itself. I don't know that it should be based on a time card.
Yeah. Some people need more time. Some people need to season a little more at a belt. Some people want to compete and really get their get comfortable competing at a certain belt before you want to get comfortable and do well in some competitions before you get promoted, essentially.
Right.
I think that's important. I think you've held some and they've asked you, some of our competitors have said, hey, I want to stay at this belt a little bit more. I got a couple things I want to achieve or try to achieve at this belt rank. That's not wrong. That's not doing anything wrong in any way, but sandbagging, I don't think it's sandbagging either. If you're still at that level and you're competing and you want to accomplish a few things, I think that's okay. But what do you think? I mean, as far as like being deserving of a belt, I mean, what are some of the ideas behind that?
Well, he's saying deserving of a belt, and he's worried about the promotion because he doesn't want to get promoted on a timesheet basis and then go out into a competition, get murdered.
Sure.
And I would tell you that, if you're training at like a gym where you get promoted based on your timesheets and stuff like that, you're probably, there's probably a good chance you're going to struggle in competitions because most gyms that do competitions are not focused on timesheets. They're focused on what can you do? How do you compare to the people, your peers?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And so there's nothing wrong with timesheets, I just think that most of the time when you start trying to grade people like that in sort of this linear fashion, you're going to end up with sort of a lower quality of people as far as skill goes, because instead of focusing on skill, you're focusing on just showing up and punching the little time clock, which I just don't think it's the best idea. It's fine to me, again, for stripes, because stripes don't really matter. And so you can say time, even with our gym, I just promote off time with stripes. So if someone has 4 stripes, it typically means they've just been at that belt for a certain amount of time. That's all it means to me. But their belt that they get comes from, the people that the coaches and everybody else that's, sort of recommending them, or from what I see personally.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly fine with that. But when you get the belt off of like a timesheet type of thing, I'm like, nah. But especially for a competition setting, most gyms that do competitions are not going to be promoting that way. And so you'll definitely be at a disadvantage. Now, whether or not you are going to get promoted depends on you. Like, what do you want to have happen? And if you don't want to be promoted based on timesheets, again, this moves you closer and closer to going to the Gracie Baja gym. Right. And so again, if I look at it, just going back to it, it just seems like you're just training at the other gym because that's where you started, and you don't want to feel bad about it, and you don't want to feel disrespectful and so forth. But again, if you want to make it known to your coach that you don't want to be promoted based off of this or whatever, then let it be known. And if you want to try to stick around at the self-defense, then try. But just again, going back to it, just so many things are like pointing in this direction.
Yeah.
Going to the Gracie Baja gym.
So the obvious question, I think you have the answer to this, and I think most people have kind of put the pieces together. What do you recommend Bob do? What do you think he should do, or what's his best option?
Follow your heart, bro. Like, what do you want to do? It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not an easy decision sometimes to have to leave a place, but it ain't going to make it any easier trying to stick around longer and longer if you don't really want to be there. It's different if you want to be there. Now, if you really want to be at that Gracie gym, the self-defense one, and that's you want to be, then no problem at all. But if you're just kind of there and you don't really want to be there, you want to be training at the other place, then again, you gotta make a decision and do it. It's not fun. Just like kind of going back to this whole relationship business. It's not fun having to go up to, a woman or a man and calling things off if you've been together for a little bit, is it? It's kind of difficult.
Yeah. It's a
But
difficult decision.
I would tell you, you need to figure out what you want to do, figure out what gym you want to train at, what you want to have happen with your belts and everything else, and then just follow that. That's it. It's as simple as that. You know what you want to do one way or the other. I think sometimes people will message me about these types of questions and they know what they want to do. You're just looking for confirmation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, do this. Oh, like, well, someone I trust says to do this too. My thing is just do what you feel like you need to do to get the experience you want out of this thing. This isn't to be disloyal. It's not to badmouth people. None of that stuff. You're just saying, look, this is what this gym offers. I want it. Bang. That's it.
Yeah. There's a lot of, different people have different factors for switching gyms. I think for Bob, it's really the goal of like, hey, I want to be a good competitor. I want to be a better practitioner. Some people, like the community, the gym culture that they're in. They enjoy, that plays a role too.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that a good,
100%.
good gym culture? Is it, or are they open to cross training? There's red flags with certain gyms and stuff. And I'm not saying this gym, that the self-defense gym, has any specific red
No, yeah,
flags,
it
but
didn't
like
seem like he's having any red flags there,
right, right. But the cross training piece, like I think I can see that, like if you're like, hey, I'm splitting my time 50-50 versus like I'm here 80% of the time and I'm just maybe going like to an open mat or doing this or that. But like if you're kind of splitting between two gyms, I think you probably have to make that decision, because I don't know, like each coach is going to be investing in you and you're still kind of bouncing around. I think I can make it challenging.
Yeah, I've had guys come in the past who would train at the gym, but they were training and they were training like a different gym in the city, and I was happy to have them. But if I knew that they were, getting promoted and everything at another gym, I didn't really keep tabs on them that much.
Yeah.
If I saw something that would help them, I didn't like hold back from them. But at the same time, I wasn't, you got to think there's only so much room in your brain for people, right? And so if you're one of my guys, I will create some space in my noggin for you. So if you're one of my guys, that's why you might randomly get a message from me if you've been injured or something. I'll just checking in on you.
Yeah.
How you doing? Because you're in my brain. I'm thinking about you. So if you're not one of my people, you're not being promoted under me, you're not really training with me, well, then I'm not gonna make that reservation of space for you in my brain. I need it for other people that are dedicated to me that I can then be dedicated to.
Right, you
Right.
invest in them, right? Like you're not going to invest in somebody that's kind of not really there. So I think by bouncing around, in my opinion, for Bob, if he's bouncing around, he's probably going to get a little bit of a diminished experience at both gyms, because one coach is going to think, well, you're kind of bouncing around to this other gym, so I'm going to invest extra time. Then, you're not really a part of this sports gym or this, competition type gym. So it's like, they may not really go, like you said, the coach may not go out of his way or out of their way to really, give everything they have, because
Yeah.
you're kind of on both sides of the fence. So I think you got to make the decision, Bob. Because I think, it sounds like the time's kind of ticking until you're going to have to make a decision. So you might as well choose to make it, not have it made for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you said, it kind of gets to something. A lot of people, I don't know what this is. I feel like this is a relatively new thing, or it's because some people have misused their authority that they have with people. But a lot of people sort of talk about from the student, like, oh, you owe nothing to nobody. You're paying a membership, da, da, da. And this is true. But at the same time, if you're trying to get the best from yourself, it pays to find a good coach that you like. And this is true with just about anything. It pays to get a good coach and then like stick with them for a while, because a good coach will start to understand who you are, how you work, what makes you tick, how to get the most from you, the whole thing. Right. And so I tend to find that there's something typically wrong when I notice that someone's bouncing from gym to gym to gym to gym, right? Like a lot of times, me and my buddy, we would call them gym hoppers. When they're just bouncing from gym to gym to gym to gym, they're getting kicked out of this one. They train at this one for a little bit. They move to this gym. That tends to me to be a red flag for someone, because there's a reason why you're doing that. or there's a reason why you're getting kicked out of the gyms or whatever. There tends to be an issue there, I think. And so when I see that, I kind of tends to be some alarm there. And I think that if you really want to get the most from yourself, it really pays to find a coach you like, be dedicated to them so they can be dedicated to you. You can have this mutual loyalty for one another and let them help you get the most from yourself. Opposed to just bouncing around from gym to gym to gym. So, when you might have to move to gyms or whatever, but when you find a good one, you stick with them and let them help you improve. All right, guys, thanks for being here today. Hopefully, I didn't piss off the self-defense community too much with this video, or with this podcast rather. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast, got some ideas to chew on, or if you're struggling with, a gym issue, then maybe that'll give you some ideas to consider for your decision. Big thanks to our sponsors, Athletic Mints. They are microdose THC and CBD and other cannabinoid mints that you can check out on their website at athletic.com, ATHLETHC.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu10. Again, they are microdose, so it's around 2 milligrams of THC with other cannabinoids mixed in, meant to give you a very low dose, low effect, and you're not going to be, high out of your mind going to the gym or trying to do stuff and work and hanging out with your kids or anything like that. It just gives you a little bit of something there. And again, I typically use them. I've tried them, and what I like using them for is sometimes during creative work. So sometimes when I'm rolling, writing, doing videos, sometimes I like them for that purpose, as it tends to help quiet my mind. As a person personally, just letting you know, my mind tends to be the overactive chatter going. I tend to be more of a very energetic, slightly, I don't want to say anxious, but on that realm, right? Like I would be more likely to be anxious than depressed. So I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
And those mints, they tend to help me have just a little less chatter in my brain, which tends to help me when you're trying to drum up creativity, when you just get into that state where you don't have all this stuff going on in your brain and you can just go with things. Like when you're in the gym, right? Like there's all this chatter in your brain or whatever. Then all of a sudden you get that to quiet down, and then you're just moving through the motions and enjoying them, and seeing what happens. So it helps kind of get me into a more playful, creative mindset. Personally, if you guys want to check them out, you can go to their website at athletic.com, save 10% on the order using promo code Chewjitsu10 for 10% off. Again, that's ATHLETH.com for Athletic. If you guys want to check out our other sponsor, Epic Roll, they make a lot of terrific jiu-jitsu gear and apparel. They make everything from gis, rash guards, and shorts. I get a lot of my no-gi gear made through them. Going to see about possibly doing some gi gear in the future. Not sure yet. Let you guys know more details in the future. They also make everything from joggers, t-shirts, rash guard, or hoodies, joggers, anything and everything jiu-jitsu related you can get. Good designs, cool designs, good quality stuff. You can check them out at epicrollbjj.com. We've had hundreds of people from the podcast buy their stuff. Like I'll go to the seminars that I do when I'm traveling. I'll see people with Epic Roll stuff on, and I'm always curious. I'm like, hey, where'd you get that stuff? I'm like, oh, I bought it from your podcast. I use your code. So again, we've turned a lot of people onto them. People love it. If you guys want to check them out, go to epicrollbjj.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu20 for 20% off the order. And also big thanks to our longtime sponsor and OG in the the CBD market, Charlotte's Web. If you guys want to check them out, they make a lot of good CBD products. They were one of the original ones out there doing it. They also make a lot of other cool products, things like functional mushroom products, utilizing things such as lion's mane or reishi to support you with different effects, from everything from stress management to improving your brain function. And then they also have some other products like CBN gummies, which are great for sleeping. Personally, as a CBD user and also use CBN, I like timing it around nighttime. So for me, the supplement is part of my nighttime ritual. I take it when I get ready to go to bed, and I tend to find an effect there where, again, just kind of helps mellow me out a little bit. I take it with my magnesium at night, and I tend to have a positive effect from that. Again, been using it off and on for a long time, and it's been effective for helping me out. So again, if you guys want to check it out, use our promo code at charlottesweb.com, Chewjitsu30, to try it out for yourself. Again, I'm a big proponent of trying out supplements for yourself. I've tried out a lot of supplements over the years, and the ones that we have on the podcast as sponsors, I actually use. They're not just supplements that someone paid us for. I mean, they do pay obviously to be a sponsor here, but we actually use them. That's why they became a sponsor. And so that said, you have to figure out the effects that you have with them because everybody's a little different, right? Some people are more responsive to stuff. Some people are less responsive to stuff. It's just the way that it is. And so check them out at charlottesweb.com. And again, if you find something you like, try it out for 30 days and see what kind of effect you have, what kind of effect it has on you, and then kind of go from there. You may not like the supplements like I like them. Maybe you like them just as much as I like them. We've had a lot of people over the years buy stuff from Charlotte. I generally get a lot of positive messages and positive feedback from you guys when you order their stuff. And so, again, if you want to join them, join those people and check it out. Chewjitsu30 is the checkout code, 30% off the order at charlottesweb.com. Guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so at our Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. We put up a lot of extra stuff on the back end there. You can check out the perks if you'd like. We just put up an episode kind of sort of asking the question, who would win in a fight, a sport jiu-jitsu practitioner or a purely self-defense person? Right. And again, maybe that would be an interesting topic to you. But again, we have a lot of different conversations that are back there. So if you like the podcast, you would like that. Like I have someone that like had binged listened to the podcast and they're finished and they're like, hey, Chewy, make more episodes. And I'm like, well, why don't you go get the Patreon membership? There's a lot of stuff in there to keep you busy. And we also have different guest spots where we've asked guests specific training questions to help people out. And so if you guys want to check any of that stuff out, go to patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast and it's available there. And guys, if you want to support, if you want to join my email that I send out every single day, well, not every single day, usually Monday through Friday, but I call it my daily email anyway, just in case, so that people don't get mad. But I send it out Monday through Friday. Sometimes on the weekend, it's my daily email that I send. It's chewjitsu.net/join is the website. And when you join the Chew Crew, you will become a subscriber and get my daily email where I give you different ideas, tips, books I'm reading, just anything and everything I think could be useful to you or entertaining. And then you also get access to my Focus Jiu-Jitsu ebook and video, which is a short sort of like mini course ebook type of thing where I give you 12 different strategies on how to improve your jiu-jitsu faster by adding focus to your open training. So your open rolls, the rounds when you're just going full rolls, all that kind of stuff. It's there to give you more additional tips on that. Very simple stuff, but super effective. A lot of times I think people overcomplicate improving in jiu-jitsu. They feel like they have to do all kinds of crazy different stuff, and you really don't. You just need a little bit of focus, and it's there for you. So anyway, guys, if you want to check that out, go to chewjitsu.net/join. And we appreciate you guys for being here with us on the podcast today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you guys have any questions or ideas for us, shoot them over to our Instagram. Just go to the Jiu-Jitsu podcast on Instagram. You can head on over there and let us know what you think about the podcast, or even shoot over questions to that media, and we will put them onto the podcast at some point. So anyway, guys, thanks for your time. Talk to you next time.